Hi everybody, Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today I've got Michael A. Forman, and we're going to be talking about networking. What is it? What do we need to do? Have we seemed to have forgotten about how to network? Before we dig into that, Michael, I always ask this question to people: where can people find you?
Well, first of all, thank you, and it's great to be here. You can get hold of me on michaelaforman.com. Michaelaforman.com.
Which is
There
at the
you'll
top
see,
of yours, the top of the
yep,
screen.
it's on the top. There we go, pointing. And I have to remember which finger it is.
Yeah, no,
Um,
mine's wrong.
and,
Mine's
um, and you can read my book that I published, Networking Unleashed. You can see the different podcasts that I was on, but more importantly, there's a contact form that you can get hold of me. I'll answer you back within 24 hours.
thanks, Michael. So let's dig in. So networking. Surely we can just use our mobile phones as well. We don't need to talk to anybody, do we?
Well, you know what? I find that since the pandemic,
Hmm.
people forgot how to communicate with one another. And really, the number one issue is, like you said, is this
Yeah.
it's the phone. So, one thing you have to remember when you're networking, turn the phone off, put it away. Don't even don't even acknowledge that you have a phone. All right?
The
So,
worst thing that can happen, isn't it, Michael, when you're talking to somebody
it
with
it
with
really
a
is
and
because
start
you
doing this?
that's right. You can't be present. You can't do two things at the same time. You may think that you can, but listen, if you're trying to talk with somebody or speak with somebody and the other person is on their phone saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, I understand. Oh yeah, 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 yeah." Are they listening to you 100% or are they concentrating some on their phone? So put the phone away and be present and listen to the people. Listen to your prospective client, listen to the person who you're talking to. Just listen, not don't just hear what they say. There's a difference between hearing and listening.
Mm.
Okay. You can hear everything, but if you listen, don't try to think about the next thing you're going to ask them. Listen to what they're saying so you can respond.
So, but if we rewind a bit, why do we need to network?
Very simple because people right now are trying to figure out what they can do to make their business better. Not only they want to increase profits, but they want to make their business better. And what better way to do that than to have that personal connection, that one on one? Listen, you can have all the Zoom conferences that you want, okay? But you can't really feel what the other person is going through or what have you. When you first meet somebody, okay, what's the first thing you do? You have to have eye contact, okay? Eye contact. Shake their hand firmly, not like a dead fish, but firmly. Because I hate that when I go to shake somebody's hand, it's like, oh, hello, how you doing? I can't do that. Okay, so you've already established what type of a person that you are just by the eye contact and the handshake. And then you go into the building of the rapport. And that's a whole nother section.
Is that so? So, I mean, from a networking perspective, I don't know about you, but probably everything that I've ever sold requires us to have a conversation. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where someone could ring up and basically give their credit card and not need to talk to me. They have to talk to me for some reason. So there has to be some level of conversation, isn't there?
Yes. Yes. And it's how you address that conversation. And this is where I said to listen, don't just hear them, listen to them. And let me give you for instance, let's say you go to a networking event
Yeah.
and you walk up to the table and it's a conversation that you want to be a part of and you give something worthy of them listening, and then you start to develop that that rapport with one or two of the people. So you never will talk. You say, that's very interesting. Tell me more about your business." And they'll tell because people love to talk about themselves.
Themselves, yeah.
They'll go on and on and on and on. And without you realizing, without them realizing, that wall that is built up is slowly being broken down. And finally, if you're doing your job correctly,
Yeah.
they're going to turn around. They're going to ask you, "Well, what do you do?
Yeah.
Let me have your business card." And then you can start going into a little bit. But anytime you go into a networking event, never think you're going to sell a thing. Always give before you get.
It's an interesting thing, that, Michael, because a lot of people, what they want to do, they're like a coiled spring. What they want to do is basically tell everybody about what they do. And
Absolutely.
actually, and actually, what because we do. But the thing is that it's the how the question is, how do you guarantee that someone's going to basically ask you to pitch? And the
See,
guarantee is that if you ask them about what they do, because of the spirit of reciprocity, they will turn around and to you and say, "And what do you do?"
exactly. That's exactly right. But you have to give them that opportunity to talk about themselves.
Hmm.
Okay. And when I talk about themselves, you're that's really the end of the conversation because you have to build that rapport. And I always think of one word:
Yeah,
form, FORM, family, occupation, recreation, and a message that you can really relate to. And you can always talk about family. You can always talk about occupation, theirs or somebody else's in relation to that. Recreation. Do they jet ski? Do they manage a little league team? Do they
yeah.
play basketball? You can talk to them and then talk to them on that level. And when you're talking, you see that their barriers are coming down.
It's that journey, isn't it, of knowing, liking, and trusting somebody.
Yes, they have to know you, like you, and trust you before they'll do business with you.
Hmm. And it's who was it who said, was it Richard Branson or someone said that, um, it's all about what they say about when you've left the room. So if
That's
if 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 Michael comes in, he says, "Tim, what do you do? Oh, you like mountain biking? Oh, that's really interesting. I was mountain biking the other day. This is what I did." And then you left the room. You go, "Oh yeah, Michael's a really nice guy."
nice guy, or who the hell was
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
There was a function I went to and business cards. I always say, bring your business cards.
yeah,
And somebody else said, what about I have an electronic business card and everything else? It doesn't quite work the same way, but don't hand out your business cards like it's water.
yeah,
Hand out your business cards like it's money,
yeah.
and you hand it out to a specific certain number of people.
Yeah, I went to a networking event in Calgary in um, earlier this year, and someone had an electronic business card. And of course, we're in this. So how does it work? And well, you're supposed to hold it to the phone. It's not working. It's not.
It's really comical because if you know how it works, you expect everybody else to know.
Hmm,
But if you have those cards, now when you get somebody's card, you write down the date on the back of the card. You write down the date of the event,
yeah,
you write the name of the event,
hmm,
and something substantive that you talked about.
good
So
idea.
when you do your follow-up,
Hmm,
you know who it is that you're talking about,
hmm,
and you can ring a bell with the person because, oh yeah, I talked to him about my son in
hmm,
soccer practice.
yeah.
You know,
So when we meet somebody, we shake their hand, we look them in the eye, and what do we say?
nothing.
Right.
You don't talk at all. You
Okay.
let them talk. You let them talk about themselves, and you can figure out just by what they're talking about how you can inject something that you can relate to. He's talking about whatever, and whether it's family or his occupation or recreation or anything like that. He can talk about jet skiing. He goes, oh yeah, well I like jet skiing too. I you like jet skiing in the ocean or just in a lake. Well, I like it in a lake. Well, that's great, but do you like the rough seas or not? And talk to them about it, and they'll forget about everything else,
Hmm.
and they'll talk to you, and that rapport building is slowly but surely breaking down the walls of you trying to get through to him.
So you see, I'm not a big sports fan, but I read. So we get a paper because we're old people. We get a paper on a Sunday, and I always read the sports section.
Right.
And I read the sports section so that when I talk to people about sport, I can have a conversation. Very, very thin conversation,
No,
but it's enough.
it's enough to get them started talking.
Yes.
Okay, so that let's say it's not sports. Let's say it's music or art,
Yep. Mm.
something else. Something you have to find that level of communication, because between those four letters, everything you can talk about, there's something that the two of you can build on, and that's how it all starts.
So we go in and we have this conversation and we get them to talk about themselves, and then and you talked about the difference between listening and hearing, didn't you? Or did I
Yes.
make that up?
No, that's what I said.
Okay. And so tell me the difference between listening and hearing.
Very simple. Somebody can be talking to you, you can hear what they're saying, but you're thinking about the next thing that you're going to say.
Hmm.
So you're really not paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay. If you listen to somebody, you're listening to so you can respond to what they are saying and not what you have in line to ask them. Okay. It all goes by that you don't talk, you let them talk.
So the word rapport became unfashionable for a number of years. It seems to be coming back into fashion. What's your definition of the word rapport?
It's building up that confidence, that truthfulness that you both can relate to, and it's you want to break down the barriers that the prospective client or person or relationship that you're trying to build. It's the walls are coming down so you can truly communicate on a much easier level.
Because the view is that in most cases we all believe that someone's going to come and pitch at us. So the barriers are always up because they're
So
going to
your
try.
guard is always up.
Yeah, because they're
Always
going to
up. Like
try and sell me
you're trying
something.
to sell me something. You're trying to
Yeah,
sell me something. I have
yeah.
no money. Don't talk to me.
Yeah. I got no budget. I got no budget,
Right.
and what you and therefore what you will do is when someone actually then says, "Oh, so you went to Calgary? Oh yeah, I've never been there, but you know they do that Stampede. Yeah, we weren't. Do you like ice hockey or whatever it is?" What that
Correct.
you're doing is that they're showing that they have an interest in you and they've heard what you said.
Yes. Yes. And you're paying attention, and that goes a long way, because if you're paying attention to what that person is saying, if you're listening to what they're saying, that's going to help break down that barrier, and they will want to talk more.
So I like your little trick about writing on the back of the business card about the event and where what you basically spoke about. That's a nice little trick. That is. What should you do when you leave the event? So you're probably sitting out in the car going, "I've got that. Talked about mountain biking and that, and then this one." Da, 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 da. What do you do when you leave the event?
Okay. When you go back to your home or office or wherever, you're going to immediately send an email to
Right.
every single one of those people. Okay. You're
Yeah.
going to say,
So
look,
it's about
uh,
the timeliness of it.
and absolutely, the timeliness is most important. So I'm going to say, "Hey Tim, how are you? I just saw you at this event on this date. We spoke about your son, Josh. He got hurt. He hurt his ankle during soccer practice. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope to speak with you soon, Mike."
Right.
And send that off. I didn't put down what I did. I didn't put down a day. I didn't put out a date. I didn't put down how I wanted to meet you. That's
You
all I
didn't
did.
say this is what we sell.
No, nothing.
Hmm.
Okay, because right after I send that email, I'm going to send a handwritten thank you card. Okay. I'm going to take my business card, put it in that,
Yeah.
and write almost the same thing.
Right.
Hey, Tim, I met you on such a date, such a time. We spoke about your son. And listen, how about if we meet for a cup of coffee?
Mm.
Mike, I'll send that off. So now I put my business card in there so that they have my return email as well as my email that I sent. So now if you don't get a response, positive or negative, for about 3 days, you send them another email. Hey, Tim, how are you? Remember, this is Mike. I met you on such and such date, such a time. We spoke about your son. I asked you if you wanted to come for a cup of coffee. I just looked at my calendar and I'm free Tuesday or Wednesday. How's Tuesday? And then let that go. And if they don't respond to you by then, and I want to tell you, you're probably your percentage of them answering you positively or negatively about 80%. Okay, you're going to get some sort of response. If you still haven't gotten a response, then you wait another 3 or 4 days and you send them another email with the same information. But I'm looking at Tuesday. Is Tuesday good for a cup of coffee?
Yep.
Now, if you haven't gotten a response by then, so this is your third email, you sent the thank you card, you haven't gotten any type of response, about 90% of the people will respond to you. Just either leave me alone or I'm
Mm.
not interested or whatever. Then you realize that they don't want anything to do with you, but you're going to put them on a drip mailing list.
Right.
But you stay in touch because you have to remember that for your typical sales cycle, unless they need your services like that day, they're not going to respond or connect with you until you've reached out to them 8 times.
Okay.
8 times is the number.
Wow. And so, but the key thing is to timely, because if there were people where you pique their interest, as soon as you get back and you respond, they will probably respond quite quickly, won't they?
Absolutely. And if they are interested in what you have to offer, whether it's a service or a product or anything else, they'll, hey, sure, I'll have a cup of coffee with you, you
Mm.
know, because they'll expect you to sit down and talk about your product.
Yeah.
But when you do that, when you sit down with them, the first part of the conversation is nothing about business.
Right.
Okay. And if you're in a conversation and
So
then
you're
you
going
talk.
to go back to Josh's. So how's Josh's ankle?
Yes, absolutely. Say, look, first, before we start anything, how's Josh's ankle?
Mm.
Oh, you remembered. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, he heard it this way. He's thinking about this, but the coach is thinking about putting him in over here, and you just go on from there.
And immediately what you're doing is you're taking out some of the sting in terms of people basically pitching. Nothing wrong with pitching. It's just about that nobody likes being sold to, apart from salespeople generally.
People love to buy,
Yes.
but they hate to be sold to.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Michael. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, is there anything else that you should do when you leave the event?
No, that the follow up is key.
Right.
Okay, that's almost important, if not more important, than
I
when you
wanted to
first
give it
met.
some time. I know I was watching the time and I thought I need to give this at least 5 minutes.
Well, it's it's more important. I think it's more important for the follow-up
Yeah.
because that shows that you're interested, that they're not just going to be a client, that they are, a relationship. You're
Mm,
out there to build relationships, not clients.
mm. And I think that I mean the term relationship I think sometimes gets overused, but the I suppose we ought to write a definition of what a relationship is, because a relationship is when you start knowing stuff. The clients I knew I'd know what football team they liked,
Well,
and
that
what you would call soccer. I'd know what soccer team they liked. I knew what I knew. You just knew stuff about them.
Right. So if I met somebody in a market, okay, and they were a relationship, somebody who I built a relationship with, it's not a client where I'm saying, "Hey, how you doing, Joe?" and keep on walking. I'm gonna walk in, I'm gonna say, "Hey, Joe, how you doing? Oh, how about those Giants? Yeah, I can't believe they trade the quarterback." And start a little conversation, 5 minutes, and then you go,
Hmm.
because there's a huge difference between the conversations.
Michael, thank you so much for coming on and talking about networking. Um, Fascinating subject, and as I've said to you before, I think it's something that we've kind of lost our way on. If you when you explain it in your way, it's like pressing buttons where people go, "Cool, can you pitch to me, please?"
Yes.
Which is what we all want, isn't it?
Yes, yes, which is all we want. But
Yeah.
remember, people love to buy, but they hate to be sold.
Michael, where can people find you?
They can find me at michaelaforman.com. There's a contact form. I offer keynote speeches, breakout sessions, workshops, one-on-one coaching, and I'm also offering virtual workshops. So just contact me,
Okay,
and I'll get hold of you in 24 hours.
brilliant.